The Mockery, the HFY Sci-Fi story in the heart of the Orion Arena. Thousands of alien eyes stared down at the lone human standing in the sand. The arena was carved into an asteroid, glowing with blue lights and banners of alien empires fluttering under artificial winds. Every seat was filled with warlords, nobles, and soldiers from across the galaxy, each eager to witness the humiliation of humanity. At the center of it all stood Vraxtor, the champion of the Zelkar Dominion, a towering alien general with scales like obsidian and eyes burning yellow. He raised his weapon, a massive plasma glaive, and laughed, his voice echoing through the arena like thunder. "So these are Earth's warriors?" he mocked. "So fragile, so small, so breakable." The crowd roared with laughter, claws striking metal rails, the sound vibrating through the air like drums of mockery. Across from him, Captain Alara Kane stood silent. Her black combat armor reflected the arena lights, and in her hand rested a simple blade, old metallic, and almost plain compared to the alien's glowing weapon. She didn't speak, didn't move, just watched him with calm, unshaken eyes. There was no fear, no anger, only stillness. That silence unnerved him more than any scream could have. A commentator's voice boomed from above. "In this match, the human claims honor for the fallen colonies of Earth, challenging the great Vraxtor of Zelkar." The words made the audience laugh again. Honor? From a human? They considered it comedy. Vraxtor stepped forward, his armor shifting with each heavy breath. "I will end this fast, little ape. Your kind should have stayed on your dying planet." Ilara's eyes flickered slightly, but she said nothing. Instead, she touched the small insignia on her chest, a silver insignia shaped like a broken sword, the mark of the Terran Blade Corps. Few in the galaxy remembered that name, and those who did whispered it only in fear. The air began to hum as the arena shields activated. Trapping the two inside the combat field, the countdown started. 10, 9, 8. The crowd shouted, betting, laughing, calling her the weak one. But Alara's breathing was slow, steady, focused. When the countdown reached 0, Vraxtor charged, the ground cracking under his weight. His first strike split the sand, sending dust flying like a storm. Alara moved aside effortlessly, her blade barely shifting an inch. He roared in anger, swinging again, each blow shaking the field still. She dodged every attack with inhuman grace, her steps light, her movements calm like water. "Stand still and fight!" Vraxtor bellowed. Alara finally spoke, her voice calm but cutting. "You mistake noise for power." Her words struck harder than a weapon. The alien hesitated, his laughter faltering. She raised her sword, and for a moment the weapon shimmered, faint blue light running along its edge. The same design once used by Earth's old elite units. The crowd leaned forward. Confused by the strange glow, Vraxtor sneered. "That toy will not save you," Alara whispered. "It doesn't need to," he charged again. Faster, angrier. This time she didn't step away. She lifted her blade with one hand, blocking his full strike. The impact sent a shockwave across the arena, knocking dust and debris into the stands. For a second, everything froze, even the crowd. The massive alien stared in disbelief, his weapon trembling against her smaller blade. She pushed back, forcing him one step behind. Then another. The arena fell silent. Even the commentator stopped speaking, unsure of what he was seeing. Ilara looked up at the giant and said softly, "You wanted to test humanity's weakness." Her voice echoed through the arena, steady and cold. "Now, you'll understand what strength truly means." Then, with one swift motion, she slashed the air, not at him but beside him. The energy from her strike cracked the arena wall behind Vraxtor, slicing through reinforced stone and leaving a glowing scar of molten rock. The lights flickered, the crowd gasped, and every alien eye widened in disbelief. Vraxtor stumbled back, his pride shattering faster than his armor could protect. He had fought hundreds of species, conquered worlds and crushed armies, but never, never had he felt fear like this. Because for the first time he realized something terrifying. The humans he mocked were not weak, they were just waiting for the galaxy to forget what they once were. Ilara lowered her blade, her calm expression unchanged. The hum of her weapon faded into silence. The crowd still stared, breathless, and somewhere deep in the stands, an old alien veteran whispered, "By the stars. The blades of Earth have returned." The arena lights dimmed. The silence grew heavy, and as the dust settled, every alien in that place understood one thing: Fear had a new face, and it wore a human name. The duel begins. HFY Sci-Fi story. The arena was silent. The laughter gone, replaced by a thick tension that clung to every breath. The aliens who had mocked now stared with wide, uneasy eyes. Vraxtor, the mighty champion, had taken a step back, not from pain, but from something far worse, doubt. He had never doubted himself before, not once in 100 battles, but now, that calm human woman with the silver blade made his claws tremble ever so slightly. The arena master's voice echoed, "Round 2. Combat continues," but even his tone carried fear. Vraxtor snarled, forcing confidence back into his voice. "Tricks, that's all you have, human tricks." He slammed his glaive into the ground, sending a pulse of energy toward her. Sand exploded upward, dust clouding the air. But Alara didn't flinch. She walked forward through the storm, eyes fixed on him. Each step was measured, deliberate. Every movement of hers spoke of training, purpose, and control. "You're not fighting me," she said softly. "You're fighting your own arrogance." Her voice echoed like thunder in the silence. Vraxtor roared in rage and charged, the ground trembling beneath his massive legs. The moment his blade descended, Alara's sword moved in a blur of light. There was a flash, and his weapon shattered in half. The energy core inside his glaive whined and died, leaving sparks falling like dying stars. The crowd gasped. Thousands of voices cut short in disbelief. Vraxtor stumbled backward, staring at the ruined weapon in his hands. He couldn't understand, couldn't accept what he had just seen. The human sword was old, dull, and yet it had cut through alien steel as if it were paper. Alara lifted her blade slightly, the blue light along its edge humming softly. "That blade," one alien whispered in the stands. "That's Terran make." "Ancient technology," another hissed. "Impossible. Earth was destroyed centuries ago." Alara's lips curved into a faint smile. "You think destruction means extinction?" she said. Vraxtor bared his fangs. "Enough words, human. I will crush you with my hands." He lunged again, faster this time, abandoning technique for raw fury. His claws slashed across the air and met nothing. She had moved again, disappearing from his sight and reappearing behind him. The audience barely saw her move. To them, she was a blur of light and shadow. When she spoke again, her voice was cold, emotionless. "You never learned to fear the quiet ones." She struck his armor, not with brute strength, but with precision. Each hit landed at the same weak point. Cracks formed, spreading like lightning across his chest plate. The energy shield around him flickered, its core destabilizing. Vraxtor dropped to one knee, gasping, confused not by pain but by the realization that he was losing. High above, the arena cameras zoomed in, broadcasting the duel across the galaxy. Billions watched as the mighty general of Zelkar faced a single Terran warrior, and faltered. In alien taverns, soldiers fell silent. On remote colonies, old veterans whispered. "The Terrans have returned." Vraxtor swung again. Wild and desperate, Alara caught his arm and twisted it. There was a sharp sound, and his weapon arm dropped uselessly to his side. The crowd winced in unison. Vraxtor howled, more in humiliation than pain. You are not human. No human can fight like this." Alara looked at him, her expression unreadable. That's what everyone thought, until it was too late. Her words echoed through every speaker in the arena. The crowd had gone completely silent now. Some aliens bowed their heads. Others stared in fear, realizing the power that humanity had hidden for so long. Vraxtor struggled to his feet, armor shattered, eyes burning with pride and denial. "I will not kneel to you," he growled. "I am Vraxtor of the Zelkar Dominion." Alara lowered her sword and stepped closer, her voice soft but deadly. "Then stand and learn," she said. "Learn what fear really means." The lights dimmed, the hum of her sword grew louder, and a pulse of blue energy surrounded her, the mark of Terran blade protocol. Every camera feed across the galaxy began to flicker as her blade drew power from the field itself. Vraxtor froze, his instincts screaming. He had wanted to laugh at her again, but his throat refused to move. He had faced predators and monsters before, but this was different. This was human will forged into something the galaxy could no longer understand. When she moved next, the entire arena saw only one thing, a trail of blue fire cutting through the dust, and the echo of her final whisper, "Fear begins." Now the screen went black, the crowd silent, and somewhere deep in the Galactic Council chambers, alarms began to flash red, because the system had detected a signal, One not heard in over 200 years. Terran Blade Unit. Active. The Fear. HFY Sci-Fi story. The sound of silence filled the Orion arena. No one dared to breathe, no one dared to blink. The lights flickered above, and the air seemed heavier than before. Vraxator, once the proud champion, stood trembling, his armor cracked, his heart racing, his mind refusing to believe what he had just seen. Elara stood a few meters away, her sword glowing faintly blue. The light wasn't bright or violent, it was calm, steady, deadly. She wasn't panting, she wasn't tired, she simply was. Her stillness was more terrifying than any weapon, because in that stillness there was no emotion, no anger, no mercy, only purpose. The alien general finally spoke, his voice shaky. What are you? Elara's eyes lifted slowly, their gray depths reflecting the arena lights. I'm human, she said simply. And I am what comes after you, forget that. Her words cut deeper than any blade, the crowd felt it. The weight of something ancient and unstoppable across the galaxy. Every broadcast network was replaying the fight. Billions watched in silence in alien bars. Soldiers stared at the screen, drinks untouched in royal courts. Rulers leaned forward, whispering to their advisors. And in the deepest corners of forgotten systems, old veterans smiled. They had fought humans once. Long ago, they remembered that look. Vraxator roared again, trying to shake off the fear. He charged with his remaining strength, throwing his whole body at her. But Elara didn't move. Her blade hummed once, and his attack stopped mid-air. For a second, time seemed to freeze. The shockwave from her sword rippled through the ground. And when it ended, Vraxator was on his knees. His weapon shattered completely. Elara stepped closer, her boots crunching softly on the cracked arena floor. The massive alien looked up, gasping. He had never been afraid of death until now, because when he looked into her eyes, he didn't see rage or pride, he saw calm acceptance, the kind that comes from warriors who've seen too much and lost too many. You think strength is measured by how loud you roar, Elara said quietly. For humans, strength is measured by how long we endure. She raised her sword slowly. The blue energy along the blade began to pulse like a heartbeat. The audience could feel it. Each pulse a reminder that something unstoppable had awakened. She could have killed him right there, but instead, she turned her blade and struck the ground beside him. The impact sent a ring of blue fire spreading across the floor. The sand turned to glass, the air filled with static. The alien generals in the viewing boxes stood up in panic, shouting orders. This energy signatures, it's Terran technology. One screamed, "Deactivate the field now!" Another yelled, but it was too late. Vraxator looked up at her, broken but alive. Why spare me?" he asked. Elara's face remained calm. "So you can remember." He blinked in confusion. "Remember what?" She leaned close, her voice barely above a whisper. "What fear feels like." The crowd erupted into chaos. Some aliens fled, others stared in awe. Every camera captured the human woman standing over the fallen champion. And in that moment, something shifted across the galaxy. A single emotion spread faster than any signal. Fear. Not fear of death, not fear of destruction, but fear of humans across colonies, the whispers began. The Terrans are still out there. They never died. They've been watching. Old archives were reopened, searching for forgotten data on Earth's blade core. And everywhere those files were accessed, one message appeared. If humanity rises again, run. Vraxator struggled to his feet. Shaking, he stared at Elara with something new in his eyes. Respect and terror. "You could have ended me," he said, voice trembling. "I did," Elara replied softly. "Not your body, your pride." The lights of the arena dimmed as she sheathed her blade. The once boastful crowd was silent. Even the commentators refused to speak. And then a voice from the control tower whispered through the speakers. "Confirming energy signal. Terran Blade Unit active." Repeating. "Terran Blade Unit active." The sound echoed like a prophecy across the galaxy. Elara turned toward the exit, her calm figure illuminated by the faint blue light behind her. Every step she took sounded like a drumbeat in the hearts of those watching. Each step was a reminder that humanity was never weak, never gone, only silent, and silence, when broken, becomes the loudest sound in the universe. As she reached the edge of the arena, she looked back one last time. Vraxator still knelt there, head bowed, pride shattered. She said only one thing before walking away. Tell them what you saw. Tell them what comes when they mock Earth again. And with that, she disappeared into the shadows. The arena lights flickered once more, the broadcast ended, and the galaxy trembled, because after centuries of silence, humanity had spoken again. The lesson. HFY Sci-Fi story. The arena remained empty long after the human woman was gone. The dust had settled, but the silence stayed. Vraxtor still knelt in the center, head lowered, the cracked floor around him glowing faint blue from the strike she left behind. For the first time in his life, the alien champion did not feel anger, only shame. The word fear echoed again and again in his mind. He had laughed at humanity, mocked them as weak, and now that laughter felt like poison. In the high stands, alien nobles whispered nervously among themselves. Some wanted to erase the recording, others wanted to study it, but deep down, every one of them knew that the moment had already escaped into history. The galaxy had seen, the galaxy had felt it, and no one could ever forget the woman with the calm eyes and the glowing sword. Above the arena, a hologram flickered to life. The Galactic Council's emergency broadcast. The council's speaker, an old scaled being with silver eyes, spoke in a trembling voice. "We must understand what we have witnessed," he said. "This human weapon, it carries ancient power. Power we thought extinct," one of the younger counselors replied. "If one of them can do this, how many more exist?" The speaker's gaze darkened. "Enough to remind us why the Terran Wars were never truly won." Meanwhile, far away, aboard a hidden ship orbiting the dead moon of Hydra, Alara Kane stood in the command deck of her vessel. The Sol Edge, her armor was cracked from battle, her expression unreadable. The crew around her, all humans, watched the broadcast replay on their monitors. No one spoke because they all understood what she had done. By winning that duel, she had done more than defeat an alien general. She had announced humanity's return. Her second officer, Lieutenant Ryan Holt, finally broke the silence. "You could have killed him," he said quietly. Alara looked out the viewport, watching the stars drift by. "He wasn't the enemy," she replied. "Ignorance was." Ryan frowned. "They'll fear us now." "They should," Alara said softly. "Fear teaches respect, and respect teaches peace." Her words carried weight. She wasn't proud, she wasn't vengeful, she was tired. A soldier who had seen too much of death to enjoy victory. On her wrist screen, a message blinked. Transmission from Earth Command. She opened it silently. The holographic image of a gray-haired admiral appeared, face lit by the pale glow of the stars. "Captain Kane," the admiral said, "you've done well, but you've also awakened old ghosts." Alara's jaw tightened. "The galaxy forgot us, sir. It was time they remembered." The admiral nodded slowly. "Then you know what comes next," Alara sighed. "The awakening." The admiral's eyes turned grave. "Yes." Authorization granted. Awaken the remaining blade units. The transmission ended. The screen went dark. For a long moment, no one on the bridge moved. Then Alara spoke. "Send the signal," Ryan hesitated. "Are we sure, Captain?" "Once we do this, there's no turning back." Alara turned toward him. Eyes calm and steady. "They mocked Earth for too long. They believed we vanished. They thought silence meant defeat," she said. Her voice grew colder, stronger. "But silence was our preparation." Across distant star systems, hidden bunkers lit up. Old satellites that had slept for centuries flickered to life. Deep under forgotten colonies, sealed chambers opened with a hiss, and inside them, machines older than most civilizations began to hum again. The Terran Blade Network, humanity's last defense, as was awakening. Back in the Orion arena, Vraxtor finally stood. His soldiers ran to him, frightened, unsure what to say. He looked at the molten scar carved into the floor, the mark where her blade had struck. He touched the edge of the crater and whispered, "She spared me so I could carry her message." His lieutenant blinked. "Message, my lord." Vraxtor's voice was quiet, trembling. "That fear is not weakness. It's the beginning of strength." In the following days, the duel spread across every star network. Every species debated what it meant. Some called her a monster, others called her a savior. But the truth was simple. She had given the galaxy a lesson. Power was not in domination, but in restraint. And humanity had mastered both. The Galactic Council met again in secret. They tried to calculate Earth's current strength. But no one knew, no one could know, because the humans had vanished for centuries. hidden in the black between stars, evolving, waiting. And now, one woman with one sword had reminded the universe of what they once feared most. Not human armies, not human weapons, but human will. As the Sol Edge drifted through the quiet dark, Ilara watched the stars and whispered to herself, "Let them prepare, let them fear. We'll teach them again what humanity means." Her ship turned toward a distant blue star, the signal's origin point, the coordinates of Earth. And as the engines flared to life, her final words carried through the silent void. "This is not vengeance. This is memory." The Rise of Humanity. HFY Sci-Fi story. The galaxy had not slept since the duel. Every world, every fleet, every intelligence network spoke of only one thing: the human warrior who brought fear back into the stars. Her image played endlessly on alien broadcasts. Her calm face and glowing sword now burned into history. And as they watched, even the bravest began to wonder, if one Terran could do this, what if there were more? In the void between systems, the ship Sol Edge drifted through darkness. Captain Ilara Kane stood at the observation deck, her reflection framed against the burning stars. Behind her, her crew worked in silence, faces lit by the pale blue glow of awakening signals. Old coordinates flashed on their screens, each one marking the location of a Terran blade unit coming online. The hum of distant machinery could almost be felt. "Echoing across light years, status report," Ilara said quietly. Her Lieutenant Ryan Holt turned to her, his voice tense with awe. 37 units awakened across 7 sectors, he said. The oldest one just sent confirmation from Mars orbit. Ilara's lips curved slightly. "Mars," she whispered. "Home wakes first." As always, outside the window, the void rippled. Thousands of tiny blue lights flickering into existence. Ancient Terran drones, satellites, and ships began to activate. They had slept for centuries under silent command, hidden beneath dust, ice, and shadow. Now, one by one, they turned their sensors toward the stars. Waiting for orders, meanwhile, across the galaxy, fear turned into movement. The Zelkar Dominion declared a state of emergency. The Zor Alliance began evacuating their border worlds near Sol, and the Galactic Council called for an emergency session. In their grand chamber, the speaker shouted above the noise, "This cannot be possible. Humanity was extinct." But one voice, a trembling advisor, replied, "Then tell me, Speaker, what world have we been mocking all these centuries?" Back aboard the Sol Edge, Ilara stood in the command center as new data flowed in. "Captain," Ryan said, "do you want us to respond to their transmissions? Do we reveal ourselves fully?" Ilara looked at him, her gray eyes steady, her voice calm. "No," she said. "Let fear do what words cannot." Her crew nodded, understanding deep within the ship. Mechanical vaults opened, releasing long-forgotten soldiers preserved in cryosleep. The air hissed as Terran armor came to life, engines roaring after hundreds of years of silence. These were not soldiers of conquest, they were guardians, protectors. The last echo of Earth's vow to never be enslaved, never be forgotten, never be mocked again. Vrax tore back on his homeworld, watched the sky from his palace balcony. The stars looked different now, colder, sharper. He remembered her voice, her calm words. Fear teaches respect. He had spent his whole life conquering others, but now, for the first time, he wanted to learn, not rule. He turned to his officers. "Send a message," he said, "to the humans, not as enemies, but as students across the stars." Hundreds of alien empires began recalling their fleets. The whispers spread like wildfire. The Terrans are awake. And every military command knew the same truth. You could fight anyone, but never humans. Because humans didn't fight for conquest. They fought for meaning. Ilara stood by the bridge window as Earth finally appeared ahead, small, blue, and alive. Her eyes softened. "It's still beautiful," she murmured. Ryan smiled faintly. "Even after everything." "Especially after everything," she replied. The comms crackled. "Incoming message from Earth Command." "Captain, patch it through," she said. The hologram of the same old admiral appeared, his expression grim but proud. "Captain Kane," he said. "The Council is panicking, the galaxy is watching. You've done what no one has in centuries." Ilara nodded slowly. "We didn't start this, sir, but we'll finish it." The admiral smiled faintly. "Then, Captain, on behalf of Earth, welcome back to the stars." The transmission ended, and for a long moment there was only silence. Then Ilara spoke to her crew, her voice carrying strength and warmth. Set course for Sol Prime. Let them see the light of humanity once more. The engines ignited, blue fire spreading through the void like a heartbeat. As the Soul Edge entered hyperspace, the stars stretched into lines behind it. Hundreds of Terran ships emerged from hiding, following in formation, from the ruins of forgotten wars, from the shadows of ancient fields, from the dust of lost colonies. Humanity rose again. The galaxy had once called Earth a myth. Now they would call it something else. A warning, a legend, a promise, and somewhere, in every dark corner of the cosmos, voices whispered the same words again. Fear has a name and it's human.